This is the oldest temple unearthed anywhere on this planet.
Archaeologists in Turkey just did something that people have been dreaming about for decades. They opened a sealed chamber beneath Göbekli Tepe, one of the oldest temple complexes in the world. For thousands of years, this mysterious room lay hidden, untouched, and perfectly preserved, holding secrets no one could imagine. The moment the chamber was finally unlocked, jaws dropped, not just at what was inside, but at what it could mean for our understanding of human history. Now, the world is watching, Turkey in shock. The Chamber of Secrets. Göbekli Tepe has fascinated the world for decades. Sitting on a hilltop in southeastern Turkey, this sprawling temple complex dates back to around 9,600 BCE, long before the wheel, before written language, before cities as we know them. For years, archaeologists meticulously studied its massive stone pillars, intricate carvings, and mysterious layout, always wondering what other secrets might be buried beneath the surface. Then, something extraordinary happened. During routine excavations, the team noticed unusual anomalies in the soil, subtle depressions, and alignments that suggested a hidden structure. At first, they thought it might be another courtyard or storage area, but the more they investigated, the clearer it became that this was something else entirely. The chamber had remained sealed for thousands of years, untouched by looters or the elements. It was like a time capsule, buried beneath one of humanity's oldest temples. No one knew what lay inside, and that uncertainty created a tension that hung over the excavation like a storm cloud. Imagine being among the few people in the world who could walk in and see what our ancestors had left behind 10,000 years ago. For archaeologists, it was a dream come true, and for the rest of the world, a mystery waiting to be revealed. Opening the chamber wasn't easy. The structure was buried under meters of compacted soil, carefully layered over millennia. The team had to move slowly, using specialized equipment to avoid damaging the walls, the ceiling, or whatever delicate artifacts might be inside. There were moments when the soil shifted unexpectedly, sending dust clouds into the air and making the operation nerve-wracking. Everyone on site knew the stakes. One wrong move could destroy evidence that had survived 10,000 years. The atmosphere was tense but electric, the kind of tension that only comes when history itself is about to speak. Before the chamber was accessed, the archaeologists debated how to handle the find. Should they open it immediately to the public, risking potential damage, or document everything meticulously and release information slowly? They opted for caution, carefully cataloging every tool, every measurement, and every angle. Scientists from around the world were flown in to witness the opening, bringing cameras, drones, and scanners. News of the discovery leaked slowly at first, building anticipation, until finally, the world held its breath for the big reveal. The local community in Şanlıurfa was equally captivated. Göbekli Tepe has always been a point of pride for Turkey, but now it was the center of international attention. Crowds gathered near the site. Journalists set up tents.
This incredible feat of architecture is not the most revolutionary thing about this place.
And social media buzzed with speculation. Even before the chamber was officially opened, theories were spreading. Could it contain evidence of an unknown civilization? Hidden artifacts? A secret message from the builders of the temple? The hype was understandable. Discoveries like this don't happen every day. And when they do, they capture the imagination of everyone, from archaeologists to casual history lovers. When the chamber was finally accessed, the first glimpses sent shivers down the spines of everyone present. It wasn't just the age or the size of the structure. It was the sense that this space had been deliberately hidden, carefully preserved for millennia. Every stone, every corner, every shadow seemed intentional. It felt like stepping into another world, one that was frozen in time and waiting for modern humans to finally notice. Even seasoned archaeologists, accustomed to ancient tombs and ruins, were struck by the eeriness and significance of what they were seeing. The discovery was considered a game changer because Göbekli Tepe had already rewritten what we knew about early human history. Before this site, scholars believed organized religious structures were built only after agriculture and permanent settlements appeared. Gobekli Tepe suggested the opposite, that complex spiritual or ceremonial structures came first, influencing humans to develop agriculture and societal organization. The sealed chamber added a new layer to this mystery, hinting that there might have been rituals, knowledge, or artifacts deemed too sacred or too powerful to be left exposed. Excitement turned into careful analysis as the archaeologists documented every aspect of the chamber before touching anything inside. Laser scans mapped the walls, 3D cameras captured the angles of the ceiling, and dust samples were taken to understand how the chamber had survived untouched. Even in these early hours, patterns began to emerge, suggesting symbolic carvings or structural designs that could hold meaning. Every detail was a potential clue to the minds of the people who built this incredible temple over 10,000 years ago. As the dust settled and images of the chamber were shared with the world, the reaction was immediate. Historians, archaeologists, and amateur enthusiasts alike were stunned. For Turkey, it was a source of national pride, proof of a heritage that predated recorded history by thousands of years. Globally, it reignited questions about the origins of civilization. Who were these people? How did they build such structures without metal tools or a written language? And most importantly, why seal a chamber and leave it untouched for so long? As the archaeologists prepared to explore the chamber fully, it became clear that what lay inside wasn't just an ancient room, it was a doorway into the minds, beliefs, and possibly the secrets of some of the earliest humans on Earth. The secrets of the chamber. The moment the chamber was finally opened, everyone on site realized they were looking at something extraordinary. This wasn't just a hidden room beneath one of the oldest temple complexes in the world. It was a perfectly preserved pocket of history, untouched for thousands of years. The first thing archaeologists noticed was its sheer scale. While many had expected a small storage space or minor crypt, the chamber stretched wider than anticipated. Its walls were carefully carved, arranged with precision, and lined in ways that suggested deliberate, meaningful design. Every corner, every shadow, every stone seemed to whisper a story about the people who had built it, their beliefs, and the rituals they performed in a world we can barely imagine. Carvings covered the walls, and the level of detail stunned the team. Animals dominated the imagery. Serpents twisted along the stones, foxes crouched in hidden corners, boars and birds appeared in sequences that suggested storytelling.
Engravings. So this is a fox. There's vultures here, there's bear, there's wild boar.
Geometric shapes and and patterns ran along the edges, hinting at a symbolic or ritualistic purpose. Archaeologists debated their meaning. Were these carvings maps, star charts, or sacred stories passed from one generation to the next? Some images appeared layered, suggesting repeated use over time, as if each new generation of builders added their mark without erasing what came before. This interplay of continuity and change hinted at a society both traditional and adaptive, deeply connected to its beliefs and environment. Artifacts were arranged in ways that were obviously intentional. Polished stone tools, bowls, and figurines were not randomly placed, but laid out in patterns suggesting ceremonial use. Some figurines represented humans with exaggerated features. Others depicted animals that may have had symbolic significance. Each object seemed carefully chosen, both for its material and its meaning. Researchers noted that the level of craftsmanship exceeded what one might expect from a hunter-gatherer society, which challenges assumptions about the technical and cultural sophistication of early humans. These weren't just tools or decorations, they were objects carrying meaning, purpose, and perhaps even encoded knowledge. Among the most striking finds were smaller stone pillars resembling the massive T-shaped monoliths outside the chamber. These miniature pillars were decorated with intricate reliefs, some of which mirrored patterns found elsewhere in Göbekli Tepe. Archaeologists suggested these miniatures could have been used in teaching rituals, symbolic representations of the larger site, or ceremonial objects for private initiations. Whatever their purpose, the detail and intentionality behind them indicated a deep understanding of architecture, symbolism, and social organization, skills often considered beyond the capabilities of prehistoric hunter-gatherers. The chamber also contained carved niches and wall depressions. Many seemed designed to hold objects that were now missing, leading scientists to speculate they might have contained perishable materials such as offerings, sacred items, or ritual tools. These niches weren't randomly placed. Their arrangement suggested alignment with certain celestial events, seasonal cycles, or ceremonial routines. Every indentation, every carved shelf indicated planning and purpose. Even before fully cataloging the chamber, the archaeologists could sense that they were in a sacred space.
This is one of the most challenging excavations in his career. Forgotten part of the original room might be hidden beneath.
A place meant to preserve knowledge, ritual, and perhaps secret teachings. Dust and residue analysis revealed traces of pigments on both walls and artifacts, suggesting the chamber was once brightly decorated. Red, ochre, and pierre black pigments hinted at symbolic meanings or ritual use. Some researchers proposed that the space may have been used for initiation ceremonies, seasonal rituals, or astronomical observation. The combination of carvings, pigments, and carefully placed artifacts suggested a society that thought deeply about symbolism, ceremony, and perhaps even moral or spiritual narratives. The chamber wasn't just a room, it was a stage for a complex and sophisticated human experience. Advanced scanning and imaging technologies added another layer of understanding. 3D scans revealed that certain carvings and artifacts aligned with natural light entering the chamber during solstices and equinoxes. At specific times of the year, sunlight illuminated particular carvings, emphasizing patterns or highlighting objects placed in niches. This suggested that the builders had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy and the passage of time, integrating celestial phenomena into their sacred architecture. For hunter-gatherers living before written calendars, such knowledge would have been invaluable, both practically and spiritually. Perhaps most astonishing was the sense of narrative running through the chamber. The combination of carvings, pillars, and artifacts suggested a story, possibly a creation myth, a record of seasonal cycles, or a moral tale. Life, death, and rebirth themes appeared repeatedly, alongside animal symbolism that might represent spiritual or societal lessons. Walking through the chamber felt like experiencing a journey, as if the builders intended initiates or participants to move through a sequence of insights, ceremonies, or teachings. Every object, every carving, every shadow seemed deliberately placed to create meaning and evoke reflection. The preservation of the chamber was remarkable. Unlike many archaeological sites where objects are scattered or eroded, everything here had survived intact. It was a rare opportunity to study not only the artifacts, but the intentions, beliefs, and cognitive abilities of the people who created them. The sealed nature of the chamber allowed archaeologists to see a snapshot of a world frozen in time, a place of ritual, thought, and culture untouched for millennia. It wasn't merely a discovery, it was a dialogue across 10,000 years, waiting for us to listen and interpret. It became clear that this chamber was more than just a hidden room. It was a lens into the minds of the builders of Göbekli Tepe, a society that challenges everything we thought we knew about early human civilization. The complexity of their architecture, their artistic skill, their knowledge of astronomy, and their symbolic thinking all pointed to a level of sophistication previously unimagined for a hunter-gatherer society. Every detail raised more questions. Why seal this space? Who was allowed inside? What knowledge or ritual was considered so powerful that it had to remain hidden for 10,000 years? The chamber's contents were breathtaking on their own, but to truly appreciate their significance, we need to step back and understand who built Göbekli Tepe, what their society was like, and how this chamber fits into the bigger picture of early civilization. The community long before the Tepe Fus. When people first hear that hunter-gatherers built Gobekli Tepe, they usually do a double-take. The common assumption has always been that advanced architecture, monumental construction, and symbolic art were the domain of settled agricultural societies. Yet, here is a site dating back to roughly 9,600 BCE, created by people who hadn't yet invented farming as we know it. This fact alone is mind-blowing. It forces us to reconsider what primitive really means. These weren't unskilled wanderers. They were organized, inventive, and deeply thoughtful humans who devoted decades, maybe generations, to constructing something that would outlast them by thousands of years. Archaeologists have pieced together clues about the society that built Gobekli Tepe, though much remains mysterious. They likely lived in small, mobile groups, moving with the seasons and relying on wild plants and animals for sustenance. Yet, they were capable of coordinating massive building projects, quarrying and shaping enormous T-shaped pillars, transporting them over long distances.
T-shaped pillars, which would have been holding up a huge roof.
And arranging them into elaborate circular enclosures. The level of planning and collaboration required is staggering, especially considering they did this without wheeled vehicles or draft animals. The fact that they managed this hints at social structures far more sophisticated than we usually attribute to hunter-gatherers. Art and symbolism played a central role in their culture. The pillars, both inside and outside the newly discovered chamber, are covered with carvings of animals, abstract shapes, and patterns that seem to convey meaning beyond mere decoration. Animals that were important to survival, like boars, foxes, and snakes, appear frequently, but their stylized depiction suggests symbolic or spiritual significance. Some researchers propose that these carvings represent myths, ancestral stories, or even astronomical observations. Whatever the case, it is clear that the builders were not merely recording reality, they were interpreting it, embedding messages and meanings in stone for future generations to understand. The chamber itself fits into this broader cultural context. Its careful design, symbolic carvings, and placement beneath the main temple complex suggest it had a special role, perhaps reserved for specific ceremonies or for the most respected members of the society. Unlike the open-air enclosures, the chamber was hidden and sealed, implying secrecy and importance. Who was allowed inside? Did it function as a ceremonial space, a place for teaching sacred knowledge, or a repository of symbolic artifacts? The truth may be all of the above. Whatever its purpose, it offers a glimpse into a culture that blended practicality, spirituality, and social cohesion in ways we are only beginning to understand. Astronomy seems to have influenced their architecture and art. Several alignments at Göbekli Tepe correspond to celestial events like solstices, and the chamber's carvings appear to interact with sunlight at specific times of the year. This suggests that the builders were keen observers of the sky, using it to guide ceremonies, track seasons, or encode cosmological knowledge. For a society without written language, this integration of art, architecture, and natural observation is astonishing. It shows a level of abstraction and planning that challenges our assumptions about early human intelligence. Another fascinating aspect of Göbekli Tepe is its social significance. Constructing such a complex site required cooperation on a scale that implies leadership, division of labor, and shared cultural or religious values. It also hints at trade networks, because some materials used in construction, like certain types of stone, may have come from distant areas. In other words, these people weren't isolated. They were connected, communicating, and exchanging resources in ways that made monumental architecture possible. This makes the discovery of the chamber even more exciting, because it could hold evidence of rituals, hierarchies, or community practices that further illuminate their society. Religion or spirituality seems inseparable from daily life at Gobekli Tepe. The repetitive motifs, animal carvings, and ceremonial arrangement of artifacts suggest a culture deeply invested in the sacred. Some scholars argue that constructing the site may have itself been a form of worship, a collective act that reinforced social bonds and conveyed reverence for forces beyond human control. The sealed chamber may have been the pinnacle of this spiritual landscape, a private, sacred space where the most important rituals or teachings took place. If so, it represents one of the earliest known expressions of organized, symbolic religion. Long before written records existed, the builder's ingenuity also extends to engineering, moving multi-ton stone pillars, carving them with intricate designs, and arranging them in stable circular enclosures without modern tools required extraordinary skill. Marks on the stones indicate careful planning and perhaps even proto-architectural knowledge. The chamber itself is evidence that these early humans could design spaces that were both functional and symbolically powerful. It's easy to underestimate the sophistication of societies from this era, but Göbekli Tepe and its hidden chamber make it impossible to ignore their intelligence, creativity, and vision. Studying Göbekli Tepe, and especially the newly opened chamber, forces us to reevaluate the timeline of human civilization. These people were capable of monumental architecture, symbolic thought, and ceremonial complexity thousands of years before agriculture and cities emerged. The hidden chamber is not just an archaeological curiosity. It's a direct window into a society that challenges everything we thought we knew about human history. Every carving, artifact, and architectural choice tells a story about ingenuity, culture, and the drive to create something meaningful, something that would endure long after the builders themselves were gone. To let it be, or to dig history. As news of the sealed chamber beneath Göbekli Tepe spread, the reaction was immediate and intense. In Turkey, archaeologists were hailed as heroes, and the discovery became national news overnight. Local communities swarmed near the site, eager for a glimpse, while international media quickly picked up the story. Headlines screamed of ancient secrets revealed, and the oldest temple's hidden room opens, and social media erupted with speculation. Everyone wanted to know, what could humans 10,000 years ago have left behind that had remained hidden for millennia? The archaeological community was equally electrified.
This is the archaeological discovery that shocked the scientific community.
Though their reactions were more measured, many scholars expressed astonishment at the preservation and the apparent sophistication of the chamber. For decades, Göbekli Tepe had challenged long-held assumptions about the origins of civilization, but this discovery seemed to raise even more questions. If hunter-gatherers were capable of building such a structure and deliberately sealing a chamber beneath it, then perhaps the timeline of human development needed a major rewrite. Could these people have been experimenting with early religious systems, complex social structures, or symbolic communication far earlier than previously believed? Of course, excitement came with controversy. Some scholars questioned the interpretation of the chamber, debating whether it had been ceremonial, functional, or purely symbolic. Others speculated that some claims circulating in the media were overblown, feeding into sensationalism rather than careful scientific analysis. Still, most agreed that even without knowing every detail, the chamber represented an unprecedented insight into early human cognition and culture. It wasn't just a room. It was proof that our ancestors were far more innovative, observant, and socially sophisticated than history books had led us to believe. The public reaction was a mix of wonder, curiosity, and awe. Social media feeds filled with images of the chamber, 3D scans, and artistic reconstructions. People speculated wildly, asking whether Göbekli Tepe had been built by a lost civilization, aliens, or some advanced prehistoric society. While archaeologists quickly pushed back against such fanciful theories, the fascination was understandable. Few discoveries capture the imagination like something so old, so mysterious, and so beautifully preserved. The chamber reminded people that history isn't static. It's alive, waiting to surprise us, and capable of rewriting the stories we tell ourselves about human beginnings. One of the most remarkable aspects of the discovery was its ripple effect on global archaeology. Experts in other ancient sites began reviewing their own findings, looking for patterns, hidden chambers, or overlooked evidence. The Göbekli Tepe chamber highlighted the possibility that similar sites around the world might contain undiscovered secrets, encouraging a wave of re-examination and renewed exploration. Suddenly, the past felt closer and more tangible, not just as artifacts in a museum, but as evidence of human creativity, ingenuity, and curiosity reaching back millennia. The chamber also sparked debates about preservation and accessibility. Should it be open to the public, risking damage or exposure, or should it remain sealed for further study? Turkey faced a delicate balancing act, trying to protect the site while sharing the excitement with the world. Archaeologists emphasized caution. Every artifact, every carving, every inch of the chamber could hold clues to understanding early human culture. Even a small mistake could erase information forever. In this sense, the chamber became a symbol of both discovery and responsibility, an ancient message entrusted to the present generation, asking us to handle it with care. Beyond academia and media attention, the discovery had cultural significance. Göbekli Tepe has long been a point of pride for Turkey, a reminder that the region played a central role in human history. The chamber reinforced this, showing that the people who once walked these lands were capable of monumental achievements and sophisticated thought. For local communities, it wasn't just archaeology, it was a living connection to ancestors, a tangible reminder of human creativity and resilience that spanned 10,000 years. The chamber's influence wasn't limited to academics and locals. Artists, writers, and filmmakers quickly drew inspiration from the find, imagining stories about ancient rituals, lost knowledge, and secret societies hidden beneath the earth. While these interpretations are speculative, they underscore the chamber's power to capture the human imagination. It reminded people that history is not just dates and artifacts. It's the stories we reconstruct, the mysteries we chase, and the sense of wonder that connects us to those who came before. Perhaps the most profound shockwave of all is what the discovery tells us about ourselves. The sealed chamber forces us to confront the reality that human intelligence, creativity, and spirituality existed far earlier than we assumed. It challenges the idea that complex thought, symbolic expression, and ritualistic behavior only emerged with agriculture or urban living. These people weren't just surviving, they were thinking, creating, observing, and leaving behind spaces that reflected their understanding of the world. In other words, the chamber isn't just about the past. It's a mirror showing what humans are capable of, even in a world we consider primitive. With all these revelations about the past, what could this hidden chamber mean for future pursuits, and what secrets might still be waiting to be uncovered? Beyond the chamber, the discovery of the sealed chamber beneath Göbekli Tepe isn't just an archaeological headline, it's a glimpse into a future full of possibilities. For decades, scholars thought they understood the dawn of human civilization. Agriculture came first, settlements followed, and then humans built monuments. Göbekli Tepe flipped that story on its head, and this hidden chamber adds an entirely new layer. It forces us to rethink not just timelines, but the very capabilities of early humans. If hunter-gatherers could construct a hidden ceremonial chamber with carvings, alignments, and symbolic artifacts, then the potential for other undiscovered sites around the world is enormous. Archaeology suddenly feels like a treasure hunt, but one guided by intelligence, strategy, and patience rather than luck. One of the most exciting prospects is what the chamber might teach us about early human culture and cognition. Every carving, artifact, and architectural choice is a clue about how these ancient people thought, organized their society, and made sense of the world. Their ability to integrate symbolic art, astronomy, and ritual suggests a depth of intelligence that challenges our assumptions. Future research might uncover evidence of early storytelling, proto-writing, or even social hierarchies we haven't yet imagined. With modern technologies like 3D scanning, AI analysis, and chemical residue testing, archaeologists now have tools that Göbekli Tepe's builders could never have dreamed of. tools that may finally unlock the full meaning of the chamber and the site itself. The chamber also opens doors for discoveries beyond Göbekli Tepe. Scholars are now re-examining nearby sites, questioning whether other ancient monuments might conceal hidden spaces, secret caches, or symbolic structures. Even small, previously dismissed mounds could hold chambers with intact artifacts. This could lead to a surge of discoveries worldwide, rewriting our understanding of how widespread complex social and ceremonial behavior was in prehistoric societies. What seemed impossible only a few decades ago, hunter-gatherers with monumental, symbolic architecture may now be the rule rather than the exception. There are also lessons about preservation and approach. The sealed chamber survived thousands of years because it was carefully hidden, untouched by humans, and protected from the elements. This teaches us the value of patience and restraint in archaeology. Rushing to expose a site or publicizing it too quickly could destroy delicate evidence, erasing clues about early civilization forever. The future of research at Göbekli Tepe and similar sites depends on careful, methodical study, blending technology with human intuition. The hidden chamber reminds us that history can be fragile, but it also rewards those willing to invest time and care. Philosophically, the discovery changes how we see ourselves. It reminds us that intelligence, creativity, and ritual were never exclusively human in the modern sense. They existed in all humans, long before written records. The builders of Göbekli Tepe weren't just surviving.
Gobekli Tepe stood out to Klaus. As he kept digging, he stumbled across some truly immense pillars.
They were observing, thinking, and creating culture. They left a deliberate record for future generations, and now we are reading it. This has implications not only for archaeology, but also for education, anthropology, and even our sense of human identity. We are descendants of people who valued art, ritual, and symbolic thinking as much as survival. And that perspective may inspire a new appreciation for how human intelligence evolved. The chamber also sparks questions about lost knowledge. Why was it sealed? What practices, teachings, or rituals were meant to be preserved and hidden? This hints at a depth of spiritual or cultural complexity that may have disappeared from the archaeological record elsewhere. Future excavations might uncover more chambers, revealing hidden networks of sacred spaces, knowledge transmission, or ceremonial sequences that span regions. Göbekli Tepe may be the first chapter in a much larger story about early civilization, and this chamber is a tantalizing hint that there's far more to discover. The discovery invites collaboration between disciplines. Archaeologists, anthropologists, historians, chemists, astronomers, and even artists now have reasons to study Göbekli Tepe together. Each perspective brings something unique. Understanding ancient technology, symbolic meaning, or ritual function requires more than one lens. The chamber demonstrates that ancient humans were multidisciplinary in their own right. They combined art, astronomy, and engineering in ways we are only beginning to understand. The future of research may mirror that approach, blending fields to create a fuller picture of early human achievement. The sealed chamber is more than a room filled with ancient artifacts. It is a doorway to the past that challenges our understanding, inspires new discoveries, and reminds us that human curiosity and creativity have always been extraordinary. What remains hidden today may redefine tomorrow, and for the future of archaeology, history, and human knowledge, that is nothing short of thrilling. And that's just a glimpse of Göbekli Tepe's secrets. Subscribe to keep exploring the mysteries of our past with us.